Hello and welcome to the RT Development Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Rossignol, and today we're going a little bit different direction in how we're doing the show. We're doing a Q&A today, and in a Q&A we asked our audience to send in some questions that we could answer. And to do the Q&A, we brought back Grady Greenwood. Grady is our Director of Performance here at RT, and you may have heard him on episode 4, and if you have not, you definitely should go check it out. But with that being said, Grady is a Director of Performance. He came on from Cressey Sports Performance before, and he's been handling everything on the strength and conditioning side. Him and I meet regularly to make sure our athletes are going in the right direction, putting the best plans in place for our athletes, and just making sure everything's moving forward. With that being said, welcome to the show, Grady.
Thanks for having me back, Matt.
No problem. I'm excited. I think it's good to have. Let's have other people ask some questions that they want answered and be able to give them information based off what they're looking to learn. And I think that's the most important part, is for us to give to them so that they're getting what they want, not us just talking about what we want to talk about.
I'm very excited for the questions today. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. So we also have Miles Liu, who is our creative director here, and he's going to be behind the mic sending us questions to answer, and then we'll kind of just open forum from there. Grady and I can kind of go back and forth, but I think we're ready to get started.
All right. So for the first question, it is, why did you both go into your professions, and who inspired you to start coaching?
I'll let you take this one first.
Okay. I think, when I was an athlete too, I think, I remember when I was in middle school, like an award I won, when I was playing this like 7th grade football. It was the Coachable Award. I've always been coached really well, and I think like I come from a family of coaches, so something that's like really inspired me to do something like that for a career was coaching people, but it was also finding the passion of what I like to do. Like I was a pretty okay high school athlete. Like I was, above average, but like, and I got to play some collegiate football, but like, one place I always like succeeded, was the weight room. Like I was always like really good at training, and I really enjoyed training, and I like the people that I've, trained with, that going from strength coaches or trainers or whoever. And I was like, I think this is something I really want to do. And, I think that's kind of, got me down this path of, being a strength and conditioning coach, and, just being a weight room guy, wearing shorts to work, and, being a dude and like having a lot of fun. And, I'd rather do this than anything else, because like, I don't want to really work a normal 9 to 5. That just doesn't sound appealing to me. I'd rather, get to work with people and be a people person. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely didn't know I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach to start out. So just kind of a little backstory. I was playing in I believe it was independent ball, and I believe I was in somewhere where it was hot. Anyways, long story short is, at the end of the season, it was St. George, Utah. It's 110 to 120 each day. And all the places that we played, Arizona, Chico, all these places were really hot, which is not necessarily important per se, but as I was a pitcher back then, it was, let's run pulls, do all this stuff. And I was out there running for 20, 30, 40 minutes a day, because that's what I thought I was supposed to be doing as a pitcher. And I was just in this 120-degree weather, and I was just losing weight. Didn't really know it. Anyways, I come home after the season, and I had lost 25 pounds from when the season started to that time. And when I got home, I reached out to some friends. It was like, I need to, one, get stronger, put on some weight back on, and just get into a good training facility. So I was traveling like an hour and 20 minutes to Pleasanton to go train with someone that I got connected with. And so kind of to get to the coach, Kyle Barber, who is actually still a family friend, one of my best friends. I officiated his wedding. But he at the time was working at a private facility, and he took me in and showed me how actual strength training should be. Like I always trained a little bit in high school, a little bit in college, but it was never really truly what I should be doing. You know, it was the machines, and not there's anything wrong with machines, but like not really doing compound lifts. I was spending more time doing cardio, things that you shouldn't be prioritizing, especially as a 140-pound kid who and wants to throw harder, or at that time hit the ball harder, things like that. But so training with Kyle, and started showing me what it was supposed to look like, and how I was supposed to be training. Started getting stronger, started moving faster, and then the next year, my velo jumped. I got up to 93, 94, and before that, I was throwing, 88 to 90, 91. But the point is, like, I saw this instant change, and that was over a 5-month off season. And I started thinking to myself, what I wish I had that when I was, first high school, but even middle school, right? And so what I was thinking was, or started coming to me is like, I want to open a place that I can give back to kids when I'm done playing. So they have this training that I just learned in 5 months. They have it over 5-6 years, and that they can start doing it. And so, once I was done training, or that off season, I knew like one day I want to open up a place where it's a baseball training facility where everything's all in one spot, and kids can start learning how to actually start training at a young age and see this, this good growth that I saw in this short amount of time. They can see over an extended period of time. And I know for myself at that time, I was thinking like, all these kids are going to the gym, but they're just going and hitting the dumbbell curls and the machines, and they weren't getting the benefits of what they actually should be doing. And so learning what I learned under that time, that's how I got inspired to do this. And so Kyle Barber is the one who taught me the way, and he's still coach. He's the strength and conditioning coach for the Golden State Warriors currently. And yeah, he's the one who inspired me into this position.
That's cool. I always feel like the inspiration part of getting into this like profession is always like the lack of knowing why. You know what I mean? And like wanting to know more and like seeing like, training works, which is like the cool part. You know what I mean? It makes you a better athlete.
And, 100%. I think there's a lot of like little stories or little things if I look back now currently. Like when I was 12 years old, from when I was like 8 to 12, I went to this same baseball camp for 8 weeks, all summer, every week. It was every week, and I would go every week to that camp. And then when I became 12, they're like, we got nothing else to show you. You've been here so much, so we're just going to turn you into a coach. And then started going and watching my old hitting coach, Reggie Smith. I would just sit there and watch him coach and try to learn from it. Point being is like I loved like the coaching side. I just didn't realize it during that time because I was always putting myself in position to learn from coaches. I was giving lessons at like 15, 16, and not thinking the two things were matching up. But I guess just the love for coaching and wanting to help was there. I just didn't realize that's what I wanted to do until I saw the big performance jump after my first full off season of actually training the right way.
Yeah, and like this profession's relatively new too, right?
Sure.
Like I think it's like, especially when you came up too. I mean, like you had to drive an hour and 30 minutes away just to find something, right?
Sure.
And like, every year I think like the further we go down the road, like more performance facilities, like not just baseball,
Sure.
are popping up more and more. So like, I think the kids that are in college right now that want to do this profession, it's becoming more of a reality. Because
Sure.
I remember having a conversation with my parents about what I wanted to do, and that I didn't even know this existed. You know what I mean? Or something like this. So it's kind of cool, like the opportunity to actually do what you want to do and make a difference for people too.
Absolutely. The last thing I want to say is like I think it's showing on in the performance of athletes now because they're starting to learn to train the right way. They're doing this at a much younger age, and everyone's talking about like guys are throwing harder now, guys are hitting harder now, and I think it's because they're starting to do this stuff at a much younger age, so they're seeing the benefits a lot sooner. And so that's why so many more guys are progressing faster than before.
Yeah, I agree.
Go to the next question.
All right, next question. What are the best foods for gaining muscle?
Do you want to start?
I'll start
Yeah,
here.
go
I
ahead.
mean, I think it's not necessarily one food. I would say one. Well, I'll say first, protein is king when it comes to putting on specifically muscle. Now, if you're trying to put on weight and muscle, calories, being in a calorie surplus is going to be king, right? With it, no matter what, there's always like you're either overeating or undereating or in the middle, and you need to know where your kind of like midline is. And if you're trying to gain weight, you need to make sure you're just hitting that amount of calories over each day, and then making sure you're hitting a certain amount of protein. And anywhere from like zero point 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight is going to be a good place to start if you're trying to put on weight. And the last thing I'll say is like, the leaner the protein going to be, the better. So yeah, the eggs, chicken, turkey, things like that, where you're getting a lot of protein for not a lot of calories overall, I think is going to help you with what you're trying to prioritize and where you're trying to get.
That question made me think about the time when I was in high school when I wanted to put on weight. I was a pretty big high school kid. Like sophomore year, I think I was about 185, 190. And I really wanted to play. Like my big goal was playing Division I football, and like you can't, as a trying to play middle linebacker or fullback, you just can't. That's not a playing weight.
Sure.
And junior year is arguably probably the most important year for like a high school football player to get noticed, recruited, all this. So, I went from 190 to 215 within that year. After that happened, I had to wrestle that winter, and then after that winter happened, I started gaining. And I think the biggest struggle with high school kids in general is like, how do I gain weight? How do I do it? It's consistency. You know what I mean? I think the things that I did to put on that weight was weight train 4 times a week and eat like I was 215, even though I wasn't at that weight, right? While eating good things too,
Sure.
There's a lot of chicken, rice, protein, carbs, while maintaining speed, which was hard too. I just had to, and that's a whole other topic. But like what Matt said, there's not a certain food that's going to help you put on weight, but I think consistency of eating and like,
Sure.
like when somebody asks me like, well, I don't know why I don't put on weight, it's like, what'd you have for breakfast this morning? There's no breakfast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh.
Like you're missing the most important meal of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think when guys are actually trying to put on weight, you have to treat it just like any of your other skills. Your skill work, your training in the gym, it has to be another thing that you are actively focused on doing. It's another part of your training. So it can't be just like, oh, I eat. No, you need to plan it out. You need to have a plan for what you're trying to do. And the more prepared you are, it's going to be easier to get that stuff done. So prepping meals, prepping your proteins, things like that are going to help set yourself up for success.
Yeah, 100%. Agree.
All right, next question. How does one go about training rhythm?
Do you want me to start with this
Go
one?
for it.
I had a conversation about rhythm probably a day or two ago. When I think of rhythm, I had a really good story. Like, at my last job, we had a group of dancers, like 14-year-old girls who came in and trained. I led the group, and when I think about rhythm with them and how I would apply it to another athlete, it's being able to skip, jump, sprint consistently and clearly and like symmetrically, I think is the way I think of rhythm in general. So like I like making skipping difficult, adding different types of like external factors to it, or like those types of training modalities. I think that's how you would train rhythm. Or like I know what's popular is like training to a metronome. Like some people do that. Like I think like Miles, we had the conversation about golf. I think it was you. Like a lot of golfers think about going ba-dump when they go up and down through a swing. And I bet actually, like, if you ask, like, maybe some of our high level hitters, like, if they have a rhythm in their head before they hit the baseball, I bet they have something going on up there. Rhythm's probably one of those things that is probably the most overlooked thing in strength training in general. It's like being athletic and maintaining some type of pace is when I think of training rhythm. When it comes to modalities of that type of training or like exercise selection, I think skips jumps or training to some type of beat outside of your brain. I guess is like kind of where my mind goes with training rhythm. I don't know.
Yeah,
What
no,
your thoughts are.
I would probably echo the same thing. Overall, I think training like skips. I think getting guys to just have a little more flow,
Yeah.
like especially in like skips and any of those type of training modalities. I think you see guys when they're doing like their skips and any types of like jump, they're very like stiff and robotic, and just trying to get them to have more flow, create some rhythm, giving them something to like kind of say in their head like 1, 2, 1, 2, just things like that. I think especially for the young guys, that's what I've found to kind of like work. Also just being able to create like, I'm trying to the best way to say it, but like kind of I guess what you said with the metrodome, and having things like that where they're kind of counting and just doing things in their head. That's the best way I would say. More than anything, just trying to get them to be free.
Yeah, and like not be stiff. You know what I mean? And that, like I think, like I said before, like I think when kids get into training, probably without some type of coach or guidance, it's a lot of like what do I find on the internet too? It's like, squat, bench, deadlift, things that are still important, but things that missing the fundamental of sport too, which is rhythm. Like even like when I think of rhythm too, I think of like running backs, like in the NFL, like they're not 100% go all the time. Like they have to go with the pace of the game too. So like vision's a big thing. So when they like see a hole, they have to control their speed and tempo of like, okay, when am I gonna put on the gas, or when am I gonna go a little bit slower? And having some type of flow, and even like playing, like having competition, I think are things that can probably help some type of rhythm training too. And just go, take a salsa class. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we got a lot of heavy-footed kids here.
Sure.
They could probably use it a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think only thing I would add to that, just from a training side, something I've been adding a little bit more is like rhythm squats.
Yeah.
Rhythm split squats, things like that, where they just have to learn how to like get in and out of positions without stopping, and just fluidly moving in and out of those spots from top to bottom, and just being able to stay smooth throughout it, and trying to find where their body needs to be so they can stay in that rhythm.
All right. For our next question, how do you build a culture instead of just a workout space?
I'll start by saying this. There's one, I think, empowering the athletes. I would say for us here, that's not to say like it's just a free for all, but there isn't a lot of autonomy for these guys. They have their programs, they come in, and it's not just like so structured and like drill sergeant, you need to be this. And so they're able, because of that, they're able to like work with others, push each other, have some competition with each other. That's one thing. Two, I think understanding, especially like for example, when we get a bullpen going, and everyone's standing around cheering a guy on, going, obviously, especially if it's like a higher intent day and everyone's cheering him on, pushing for him to be better, it just that naturally just brings everyone up. And then because that guy who was on the mound watched all of those guys doing that, then he wants to be part of the next group when that one of those other guys is on the mound and cheering him on. And I think then when they're all pushing towards the same goal of wanting to hit or throw or whatever it is better, it helps bring them all closer together. And I think especially from us here is one of our bigger strengths, I guess, is like guys are family. And I think that's where it comes from them working together, pushing each other together. And they're not here and just like, just, I don't know, military, like you just be here, do exactly what we say. Yeah, here's your program. And it's not like don't go off and just do your own thing, but you have some autonomy and you have some ability to be you.
I think it's like kind of like give and take, when I think of like just from places I work, I always think it's about and you've done a great job, Matt. Like people you hire. Like actually, like I think one of the big drivers. I really like our staff here. I think we do like we just care. You know what I mean? I think that drives culture too. Making sure the athletes like who they're working with too, because like we have a ton. And that's just something I've seen at like really good facilities. I've seen facilities with guys who are really smart, but maybe you don't really want to hang out with them as much. And then I've seen facilities that you got guys who know what they're talking about, but also like like just being a positive influence on young athletes. I think is important. I think that's what drives kids that want to do well. Like if you have somebody that believes in you constantly, and every kid that comes in here, I believe in them constantly. Like I want them to be the best that they could possibly be. And when kids feel that, I think that makes them to want to work even harder. And we're in an environment where they do have a lot of autonomy, and it could be you could easily, half it if you want to, and like not give it 100% effort. But when you have people that actually believe and want you to be the best version of yourself, I think, kids feed off that, and that's why I like what we do too. Like, I think that's the cool part. And like, I think, creating good culture comes with, having a really healthy two-way street. When kids give, you give, and when you get, they get, and it's like a really healthy relationship, I think.
Well, I'll add one other thing. Early on when I started this, I knew I wanted to make this like an athlete's second home or third home. They have home, they have school, and I wanted this to be that other place where they could come and just be like one of their three homes. And so really strive for that, like make sure we're not kicking guys out the door at this time, making sure guys are able to feel comfortable and not feel like they're walking on eggshells. Like, and I think and this is another thing, and like being able to the guys feel comfortable to talk to us in a sense, like, so with that, I think there is just more, the culture comes from them being comfortable here at this place, feel like it's a home for them. And then with that, guys are here and it's bringing them all together.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Next question. What does it really take to get to the next level or become a D1 athlete?
So I will say this. I mean, just to get this out of the way, if D1 is in everything. Now, that being said, that's not necessarily a question. I think every athlete that comes in here that has high goals of playing at a top level, that should be the top goal. But if that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. At least you did everything you possibly could to get there. Now, that being said, I think it's important to understand where you're at. So if you go look at every D1 school, you can see what each of their metrics are from their 60, exit velo, throwing velo, batting or whatever. But my point is, knowing what you need to do and where you're at is really important, and being honest with yourself. If you're a guy who wants to go play at Vanderbilt, but you're throwing 85, you need to be honest with yourself and know, okay, let's say I'm 85 now, but I really want that opportunity. What do I need to do to get there? And where am I lacking? Is it a strength thing? Is it a skill thing? Like not putting enough time on that skill side, and being honest with you. If you need to run faster, but you're not spending time training, that like a 60. Like if you're gonna be a top middle infielder trying to go play at a big Power 4 school, you're gonna have to be under a 6'8". So, and if you're not, why? What are you doing to work there? And I'm not saying it's just easy, but if you're not spending a lot of time working on sprinting to get to that, then you're not going to be able to get to where you want to get. So one, I think being honest with yourself and understanding what you need and then training that. And then two, you have to be willing to go all in on everything that you're doing, your training, your nutrition, your skill work, and really prioritizing. And when you do that, then you're going to give yourself a shot.
Like what Matt said too, like I played Division II football, and even though it was cut short, I had to medically retire. That was probably the most fun I've had in a team environment in 2 years. And like playing past high school is such a good thing. And I think D1's great. It's the highest level you can possibly play at, which is a good thing, that you want to aim for those things and want to try to get somewhere with it. But at the same time, like what Matt said, it's like understand where you're at. And also, like, not everybody's done developing when they're a senior in high school too. I mean, we had a night with the pros last night. How many of those guys actually played Division I baseball and are playing professional baseball now? Like, maybe.
Well, Caleb would have played, and
Yeah.
Dan played D1 baseball.
But the other four
The other four
were NAI and JUCO kids. Like, D1's not everything, and like understanding that you can develop past the age of 18 and still get better. And like there are professional athletes now who are 25, 26 years old who are still getting better at what they do and throwing harder. So like, and it's also hard because when you're 18, you're only 18 years old, so you don't know yet like you're only have 18 years of life experience, and you can't really see the bigger picture of development in general. But my biggest piece of advice is control the things you can control, which is like being consistent on training and doing the right things. And if you put in the work, I guarantee you'll get what you get back. And it might not be Division I baseball, but you get the life skills of learning how to train really well and maybe potentially playing another 4 years after high school. That isn't Division I baseball, but there's still really good colleges that aren't D1, like D2 and D3 schools as well.
All right, next up, if you could choose, what's one value you both agree is non-negotiable for athletes here?
Go for it.
One value, I think, like consistency is number one. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't think any other value matters before consistency. Like, it just, you have to show up. You can't sit around and wait for something to happen. You have to make something happen. And I think consistency matters. And that's with work too, life. Like if any coaches are watching this too, like, consistent learning, I think, is so important. Like, if you want to be a better coach, despite strength or skill or whatever you do, if you're not getting better at your craft and being consistent on the things that make you better, you're just drowning, and that goes for athletes too. Like, if you have an opportunity to get better, and if your parent drives you in or you drive in, take the opportunity to be consistent and get better. I think that's such a non-negotiable for people.
I mean, obviously, definitely would agree. I think consistency, a lot of guys, I'll say, and I talk about this a lot, is like motivation is high, but motivation is always not going to always be there. And so with that, it's really easy to put in the work when the motivation is high. You have these big goals, and that one week, 2 week, 3 weeks of motivation, and you ride that high, but eventually it's gonna diminish a little bit, right? And that's where the discipline, the consistency, the understanding of where you want to get and what you're trying to accomplish becomes really important. And when you stay consistent, you have a discipline in what you're trying to do. Now you're able to actually reach those goals or make those dreams become a reality, because you didn't let that time where the motivation was low win. And I promise you, there's going to be times where the motivation isn't there, and you're not going to always want to go lift or do your skill work or whatever it is. But if you're able to be consistent through those times, you're going to see the progress that you're looking for. You're going to make the jumps that you're hoping to make. And the guys that are able to stay with the consistent and have the discipline during those times are the ones that you see at the top. I mean, I talked about last night, the night with the pros. I mean, all those pro guys, they don't want to do that stuff every day for 4 or 5 hours a day, but they know what they want. Well, they know what the ultimate goal is, and so they're consistent, and they find a way to just continue to just stay disciplined with what they're trying to do.
Yeah, like everybody, I think everybody's motivated when December, January rolls around, and they're motivated for high school baseball in 2 months. But where was the discipline in August?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, being able to like show up in and out. I mean, we've had guys. A majority of our guys have been training since August, which has been awesome. But those guys have been disciplined, and consistent. So yeah, discipline over motivation.
All right, going back to the coaching side, how do you two balance different personalities and coaching styles under one roof?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Well, what do you mean?
I mean, there's people with different coaching styles
Oh.
and personalities. How do you make sure they blend efficiently?
Do you want me to go? I do think communication on a staff matters, and like being able to talk about just making sure you have the same goals in mind. I don't think it really matters like personalities or coaching styles in general, but like I think Matt would agree. I'm a louder coach probably on the floor, and that's just the way I like to coach. But at the end of the day, the message is the same, and it as long as it's a positive outlook, I don't think it really matters. I mean, I've seen staffs where people disagree on training, which is like kind of tough, you know what I mean? And like they're always going to be like 80% agreement and 20% of learning. But like being able to communicate, and like we do weekly meetings on how do we get better at things, and like constant learning. It's not really matter about the personality or how do we message or how do we like communicate it, because I'm a little bit louder, and that's just the way I like to coach, I think. And I still think we have the same message no matter what, So what do you think?
I'll say there are two things. One, I think the most important thing to me for our coaches to understand, just in general, is this isn't about us. Mm-hmm. It's about the athletes. And so at the end of the day, our job as coaches is to be working for them, working towards what they're trying to accomplish, and helping them accomplish those goals. Now, that being said, that's where on the coaching side, like you said, the communication, the meetings, the things like that help us make sure we're all on the same page is really important. It's not, and I would say at the end of the day, yes, Grady may be louder than I, and I'm definitely more on the quiet side, and I say things when they need to be said. We both want the same thing. We want you as the athlete to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. And I think also, as long as the coaches are on the same page, they should have a little bit of different personalities. I think it's definitely helped us as a staff to not have just one or two quiet voices, especially at the beginning. Now we have Clay too, but Nathaniel and I definitely more quiet. And then to have another guy, to bring in someone who's a little bit different, still wants the same goals, but have a little bit louder, I definitely think it's good and helps make the staff work better together and helps the athletes too. And so I don't think if everyone is the same, I think that would actually be worse, because just sometimes when everyone has the same personality, they can kind of butt heads. But I would say as long as the goals are the same, the communication is there, the personality doesn't really matter.
I think it's just like, and also like just having, I think diversity is like just like the diversity of coaching is cool, because it like brings everybody up. You know what I mean? Like there are things that you succeed at better than I do. You know what I mean? And like that makes me a better coach. And like I saw some statistic. I think it's like you hang around with. If you hang around with high achievers, it makes you like 15% better at something or whatever. Like, and I like to think we're all like, high achievers on the staff, and we want to like get better. And, and I think having different types of personalities and coaching styles is healthy, as a staff. That's what
absolutely.
That's
the styles may be different, but the goals and how we want athletes to execute things is the same. Like, so that's where having like specific standards are important. And so as long as we're keeping the standards the same, communication the same, and remember it's about the athletes, not about us.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, which supplements, if any, do you recommend athletes take?
So I'll say, I don't necessarily recommend supplements. I will say there are some supplements that I do think are very beneficial. I'll start with one. It's important to remember that supplements are what exactly they should be supplemental. It's a small percentage of your overall diet. If you're not, I don't want to say mastering, but if you're not crushing your nutrition and then you're only worrying about the supplements, no supplement's going to save you and help you make up for what you're lacking. That just it's like the recovery modalities on the training side. Like that should make a small percentage of what we're actually trying to accomplish. And none of that's going to help you if you're not doing the training to the to capabilities or what it's supposed to be done at. And so with that being said, if you're not doing the training or not crushing that side, don't worry about supplements. Two, with that being said, if you are looking for supplements, nothing is wrong with a whey protein. I think it's great to helps you, one, if you're trying to put on muscle and be more efficient and being able to just crush that right after a workout or right before bed. It's great. Also, creatine is another great one. And I know a lot of people think, oh, isn't creatine like a steroid? It is not. It is. Your body naturally produces creatine already. You're just helping supplement it a little bit better. It helps with just your ability to produce a little more power, recover a little bit. And so, if there was two supplements that I would say that I think are beneficial, those are two. That being said, it's important to remember that they are supplements. It should be 5 to 10% of your actual overall nutrition. If you're thinking it's going to save you from something else, then that's where you're going to be lost.
And just like I think Matt nailed that right on the head. I think it's like if you're not crushing training and also like basic human needs like sleep, proper nutrition, I wouldn't really worry about supplementation. Like it's not going to save you from something, right? Like, but like whey protein and creatine are great. I think creatine's like the most researched supplement that you can buy, and it's safe. But also and it's also NSF certified, I want to say too, where like the NCAA,
well,
right? Or it depends on
there's certain ones. But that being said, if you are going to go down the route, the ones that are NSF certified and when you take creatine, it'd be just a basic creatine monohydrate. If you're taking the creatine 5,000 plus that has 5 other things in it, it's probably not the creatine you actually need. So it's understanding that it should be just a basic creatine monohydrate, taking 5 grams or so, but you don't need to push it. You can't you don't want to take more just because you think it's going to work faster.
Yeah, and also being and that's it. That's a good conversation to have. It's like being careful of what you're taking. Like if you go to the local supplement shop, a lot of those things aren't regulated by the NCAA, and like I've had teammates who've gotten popped, at the Division II level and have lost eligibility because they were taking a pre-workout that had something in it that the NCAA wasn't going to let fly. So like making sure like it's NSF certified and things like that, and making sure it's safe for you to take if you're an NCAA athlete like watching this, making sure that the things that I'm putting my body are okay to do and not putting yourself at a vulnerable position to lose eligibility and not play the sport you want to play. So
absolutely,
yeah. But yeah.
Okay, and for our last question, I'll kind of combine these two, but first it's getting in the gym or more time playing different sports for younger athletes, and then as well, how do you balance training and playing consistently?
I'll say for the younger guys, I think it's really important to play multiple sports, and depending on what age we're talking about, I'm gonna go off like middle school here, or younger. But yes, I would think play as many sports as you can, get acclimated to all those different movements, and the more sports you play, the more acclimated to different movements that you are, the more athletic you're going to be. And so I think when kids specialize too early on one sport, and I see it all the time with baseball specifically, they're so stuck in just that one motion, and especially baseball, it is so repetitive. You're doing the same throwing and hitting are very, very similar. It's just rotation, rotation, rotation. And so those guys become so one dimensional. And so the ability to have access to those other movements through playing other sports, I think, becomes really important, especially if you're trying to play as you get older. And you see it, that's where it starts to show up later on with those guys when they lose that that range of motion and movement through those other areas. The other thing I'll say is, although I wouldn't pick one or the other, I think when you start getting into middle school and you can find a way to start incorporating training, you're setting yourself up for success, not just in the beginning, but long term. Like the sooner you start training, the sooner you can start doing the more, let's say, quote unquote, fun stuff as you get into high school, right? If you're just starting to train in your junior and senior year, there's no skipping steps, and being able to start doing like these fancy training modalities, right? So
Yeah.
start building that foundation early. Find ways to make it part of your regimen, even if you're playing. And so build that foundation, learn the basics early so that you can set yourself up later on.
I think like making sure that you're having fun. Like I think that's the most important thing. Like as a young athlete, like making sure you're having fun in the weight room, and like also as coaches, we have to facilitate that and making sure that training is fun at the end of the day. But I would prioritize like playing multiple sports, having like some type of exposure to those things, and like probably some of the most successful athletes that we have in this gym were multi-sport athletes growing up too, right? And like I think being exposed to different types of stimuluses are important when it comes to training in general. But then the other part of how do I balance both is like you just have to find time, and like if you're in season right now, like sometimes you're gonna have to train at 8 p.m., and sometimes you're gonna have to do a late night lift and just make it work and make it happen. Because like if you want to make a dream come true, like those are non-negotiables, and sometimes it sucks. It's not fun, but like after a hard start on a Saturday, you're going to have to trap our deadlift right after. It's just part of it.
Yeah. What was the other part of the question?
How do you balance training and playing consistently? Kind of what Grady just touched on.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just something you have to do. There's no other way around it. There's no picking one or the other, especially if you're a higher level athlete or just mean like high school or above. Like it's like Grady said, non-negotiable. And I think the biggest thing is you put in all this time in the off season to go have success, and then to just throw it out the window because you stopped training. That doesn't make sense. Why'd you put in all this time to then just throw it away? Over a 4-month season, the progress you made in the beginning is not going to stay there when come late in the season when you're trying to perform at your best, get ready for the playoffs, or have a really good late season run. Like you have to continue so that you can continue to maintain and honestly even still make progress in the weight room. It's just about controlling the volume, training smart, understanding how much. But to say like, oh, it's in season, I need to back off. That's also, I think, something that's often misunderstood. Is like I've had guys and we've had guys still see gains in season, and with that, we're not chasing it. It just happens by just good consistent training. But with that being said, it's really making sure we're not creating too much volume. It's understanding, having conversations with the athlete, and then programming accordingly.
And then like also like the season doesn't end in April too or May or whatever. It goes on into a summer. You're playing in the summer as well, and like it just doesn't end. And like I think strength sticks around for maybe around 30 days, and then power. Like, what is it? 6 days you can lose like
Yeah,
peak power. If you
5
don't,
to 5 to 7 days you're losing speed and power,
yeah.
and so 28 to 30 days you're losing strength.
Which is insane, and like if you don't train those qualities, you're going to lose those qualities. So it's like, yeah, like, what's the point then? So like being able to find time, and it doesn't have to be a crazy meet twice a week, but something is better than nothing.
Absolutely.
All right, and then to wrap it up, we have some rapid fire questions for both of you guys to answer. So to start, if you could pick one all-time favorite moment at RT.
I have one. Do you want
You're
me to go? I mean, this is more about, I liked my deadlift off with mine. That was a lot of fun. That was probably one of my favorite moments of me being a competitor, but also like summer program wise, seeing guys just kind of like rip it up on the mound and hit some PRs, like guys that came in who weren't necessarily throwing the hardest, that were that worked really hard over the summer and gained a lot of velo within 3 months. I think was that's always one of my favorite things, is seeing kids succeed.
Does it have to be a moment in the facility, or can it be an RT athlete a moment?
It could be an RT athlete.
I think, well, there's a lot of moments, and I like Grady said, there's, just watching all of our guys have success. Like, that's my favorite thing. That's why I do this. And so with that being said, especially it was our first athlete to get there. When Jared got called up to the big leagues, probably definitely one of the best moments. And then Mike Peterson as well. But just like understanding like how much time Jared had put into it, what he had been through leading up to that, and then being able to see him get to go pitch in the big leagues was definitely a favorite moment.
Most overrated exercise.
Oh man. I'm probably gonna ruffle some feathers.
Go for it.
I gotta think about it. Anything where it's like on a freaking Bosu ball, man. Like I just like I don't know. Like I saw Derrick Henry one time doing like a skater squat Bosu ball, something catch. I was like, I don't know if that's necessary. I think that those types of modalities I always think aren't what you need. I think what you need is put force on the ground and be able to like jump and sprint and lift really heavy. Like anything where it feels more like a circus to me, I find pretty overrated. If I were to pick something that I think might be overrated, is like, I do think they're awesome, but like, like anything type of like arm farm, I don't know. Like I don't think it's my number one pick for everything, but like it's healthy to have a strong elbow too. But I don't know. That's like a tough question for me, I think. What do you think, Matt?
I think like taking all of like the circus stuff out of it, I'm just like normal exercise that is consistent. And I would say we sometimes use it depending, but I think Turkish get up.
Yeah.
And I'll say this because one, for the benefits that you're looking for, guys can't use enough weight. So like, especially there's just a lot to it, and the benefits. I'm now, because the guys probably are going to hear this and say, you gave me that. And I'm not saying they're horrible. I'm not saying, but I think the value in terms of like, unless they were working on something really, really specific, which is when I do give that out, is something specific. But just in terms of like a top exercise that might be overrated, I would say it's probably one of them.
I have another one now to add too now, because that opened it up for me a little bit. Yeah. But like, I think like Olympic lifts are kind of tough in our space with baseball. So like, I don't think they're overrated. I think they're still good training modalities. I just think, first of all, I don't coach them very well. If I'm being super honest, if I can't coach something really well, I don't feel like comfortable giving somebody that. And also we just like kind of work in a space where it gets tight. You know what I mean? We have like sometimes 100 people in the gym at one point, and slinging weight around might not be the safest idea all the time. And we can get other things out of maybe a trap bar jump or just jumps in general too. Not saying they're bad, but just something that we probably wouldn't use in this space.
I don't know about 100 people, but I would agree.
Trying to hype us up, man.
Okay. Next question. Favorite cheat meal?
Ooh.
If we're talking just true cheat, probably pizza. I'm big pizza, so.
Pizza. I mean, I love double stuffed Oreos. Like, I could eat a whole thing of double stuffed Oreos. It's like a whole pack, no problem.
Nice. Favorite athlete of all time?
Kobe Bryant.
One I trained or one that I admire?
It could be either. One that you admire. You said Kobe.
Man, I'm gonna give somebody a shout. Is it okay if I give a shout out on the podcast?
Of course.
Ralph Gardiano. I trained at CSP Mass, and he got cut from Holy Cross Baseball, which is a Division I school nearby, and he trained with us for a whole spring, and nobody was at the facility because it's baseball season. And he worked his tail off, and he was one of my favorite guys to work with, just because he was consistent and he showed up, and I really admired that about him because it was like really easy to quit after you get told no so many times. And he went on to play more baseball afterwards, and then at Lehigh University in Pennsylvania. I think he's still there now. I text him a little bit every once in a while, but that's like one of the guys. I think like there's a lot of guys I've trained and been around, but that's one of the guys that really sticks out to me just because of how consistent he was. Like, there's nobody in the gym, and he's just like training by himself, and it's hard to stay self-motivated like that. And just seeing him being relentless with what he does, I think was really cool. And that's like a cool memory for me. But like a professional athlete that I admire is probably someone like Jordan Burroughs, who's a Olympic champion wrestler. He has like the nastiest double leg takedown of all time. And he was a Nebraska wrestler guy, but he was somebody who was probably underdeveloped in high school. He was from New Jersey and like wasn't highly recruited. He was a one-time state champ in the state of New Jersey, which isn't a big, it's still a big deal, but it's like, he's not coming from Pennsylvania, California, or somewhere like that. And went on to be a national champion, and he was just like relentless with everything he does. And I thought that was really cool.
What gym pet peeve drives you crazy?
What? Oh, UD? Clash Royale. I hate Clash Royale. Sitting around doing nothing. That's what I don't like.
I might echo that. Let's see. Yeah, I'm probably gonna echo that, especially right now. Definitely is the one thing that seems to slow guys down.
Or not putting your weights away. That's another thing. Yeah, put
Yeah.
your weights away, all right? I pick them up every day. And me and Matt, our backs hurt. Freaking tired of it.
Last question. Will Grady ever hit 80?
Not a chance. I'm so close, but it feels so far away. I think we're going to tune some things up. I think it's gonna happen.
What do you think, Matt? When's it going to happen?
I would say it's gonna happen. Now this is kind of off topic or side note here, but I think there's one thing that's kind of cool is you being able to actually like kind of go through this and see what it takes and what you need and kind of experience it. Obviously, you're not the baseball guy. You haven't played baseball you didn't play competitively in high school, right?
Yeah, no,
right?
None of it.
So like you're having to learn this stuff and learn what our guys are going through, and I think learning that you can't muscle a baseball to 80.
No,
I mean, you may be able to deadlift over 500 pounds, squat over 400 pounds, bench over 300 pounds, but not muscle a baseball 80 miles an hour. And I think it's a good training lesson for other guys, and as you go into like programming for guys that like there's more to it. And I think my last thing to it is, and I think as you take this next step, it's going to be more of the movement side of it, learning just how to move, how to rotate, versus just trying to like muscle the baseball to.
Yeah, I 100%. Like my training has kind of changed a little bit too. Like I think I focus more on mobility and like not necessarily lifting as hard as I used to, but like maybe focusing more on plyometrics and jumping and sprinting, which I've neglected for the past couple of years since I've probably like just something that hasn't really interested me, but like applying those things more. And it makes me think about like, hey, how should I program guys now? And also like experiencing pain, and like soreness and those types of those feelings after throwing a baseball, I think are important. Like now I kind of understand like how do these guys feel a little bit too. I know it's been awesome. It's gonna happen. Like I hope it happens. Like I really do. But and the other thing, I have to be consistent and make sure I'm doing the right things. And and I have a lot of great guys around me that can help me too, and they all have. So it's been awesome. But
Yeah. No, I think for you, but also just in general, it's like you're spending a lot of time in what we call the sagittal plane, and just learning we got to get outside the sagittal plane.
Gotta get outside the box.
Yeah.
The transverse plane is coming. All right.
Well, Grady, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, everyone, if you want to get a hold of Grady, you can always go to Grady Greenwood on Instagram. And for us, and we are rossistraining.com, and then also Rossi's Training on Instagram as well. Thank you guys for listening, and see you on the next one.